Carolina People's keeping it in the family. Her mother's a librarian. Her sister's a librarian. Now she's a librarian. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Doctors Bruce and Lee Foundation Library, headquarters for the Florence County Library System. We're visiting with Elizabeth Caldwell, the Reader Advisor Librarian too. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming in, or for letting us come visit you all. It's been a tremendous week.
No, absolutely. Yes, it's been a wonderful week here at the library as well. We have a lot of neat events planned for the next couple of months. And I think it's a wonderful time for the library, and we are just interested in becoming or developing greater links with people in the community, and we're glad that you can interview us.
Absolutely. Visiting with George Hobika yesterday, your Florence County, the head of the library here, and of course of the entire system, and hearing about his 30 years working within the Florence County Library System was tremendous. Of course, we'll be visiting with Tom Marshall tomorrow, the president there of the Florence Greater Chamber of Commerce, which we're really excited about. And of course, for everyone to come here at such a central location now, not only for Florence itself, but really for the PD.
Absolutely. And I think George, with his 30 years of experience, is a good one to run the library. And he's a remarkable person, and I think he has been very supportive and encouraging of all of the librarians here, and we're really glad that he's on board as the director and that he can share his expertise with us.
Those are kind words. Let's hope he's watching you this morning, Elizabeth. How about a little bit about yourself? Are you originally from the area?
No, actually, I'm not from South Carolina at all. I am a Southerner. I am from northeastern Alabama, actually the Anniston area, Calhoun County, and it's between Birmingham and Atlanta, about 400 miles from here. I grew up in a university town in Calhoun County. My father was a history professor there, and my mother was actually a librarian. So I kind of inherited my love of libraries from her.
Yeah. Do you have family still in Alabama? Or?
Actually, I don't anymore. I did up until, well, 6 months ago or so. Well, actually, I do still have one, excuse me on that. I forgot. They've moved around quite a bit from Florida to Georgia to Alabama.
Right.
I do actually have my father and my mother who are still in Alabama.
Sure.
But my sister has moved out of Alabama. I have an identical twin sister, actually.
Oh, really?
And she has moved to the Camden area, which is near Columbia, Kershaw County, the neighboring county of Richland County. And yeah, my parents still live in the town that I was raised in northeast Alabama. It's
right
between Birmingham and Atlanta. And my sister, lives in the Columbia area.
What's the name of the college there or university that was headquartered where your dad was teaching?
It was Jacksonville State University,
okay.
a regional school. It has
Sure.
A fairly prominent education department. It was originally established as a teacher's college and has kind of grown up around the education departments. The
right.
education department is kind of the central college on campus.
Sure. And your mother was a librarian there or there in town?
Yes, she was actually a librarian at the Jacksonville State University Library, working in an academic capacity. She also has experience in the public library, working as a children's librarian, as well as in the schools, working as an elementary school librarian. Right. So she's been in a variety of library arenas, but she always encouraged my love of books and of learning and of information in general.
That's fascinating. What was that like growing up with an identical twin sister, Elizabeth?
Oh, I think that it's just a wonderful blessing to have a twin sister. She was always someone that you could look up to, you could talk to. You had an instant playmate. And it was incredible, I think, to have a very close bond with someone else. And I know that others who do not have an identical twin sister can't really understand what it's like
right.
to have such a close bond with another individual. But it's absolutely amazing. And I think in times of great distress, you have someone to come to for instant comfort.
Right.
And in times of celebration, in times of joy, you have someone to share those things with also.
Yeah.
So it's just a remarkable experience, and it's something that I don't think you would ever trade for the world.
Yeah, and tough for a lot of
No.
folks to imagine who haven't
Yeah.
lived with that. Of course, a lot of folks have fraternal twins, or my mom has a twin brother, and it was fascinating watching a movie a couple nights ago where these two guys were conjoined, two twins. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Greg Kinnear and Matt Damon. It was hilarious. And thinking about so difficult, of course, these guys couldn't break apart. But, for you and your sister growing up, oftentimes I'm sure it felt like you could never get away from her.
I think that one of the greatest challenges identical twins face is that of creating your own identity. It's very difficult to find out and discover who you really are as a person, separate from her. In this case, it was a female. It's very difficult to not see yourself as part of the two, as part of a group, as the twins.
Right.
You have to start seeing yourself as one person, an individual, not this entity of two.
Right.
And so it's very difficult initially to try to develop your individual personality separate from hers. And I think it was a real struggle for me in the beginning, but after probably a year or so, I began to branch out on my own and really found that I had some interests that were quite different from hers, and that I could survive on my own. I didn't always have to have her tagging right along.
Yeah. Did she get into library science at all, or?
Actually, she certainly did.
Oh, come
She has
on.
a master's degree in library and information science. She worked for 3.5 years as a children's librarian. She's a very dynamic, very intelligent, one that loves learning as much as I do. And she's now a stay-at-home mother. She has a 10-month-old, Madison Ray Shatzwell, who I absolutely adore,
Yeah,
a niece.
your niece.
And so she's staying at home with her right now, but she's hoping to get back in a part-time capacity, perhaps at the Richland County Library or maybe in the school libraries. She loves working with children and young adults. That's kind of her area. Mine was more reference and both public and academic libraries, too. And I did go back and get a second master's degree in history to try to expand my job opportunities, and also just because I had always had a passion for history.
Well, of course, with your dad being a history professor,
Yes.
was there ever any concern on your dad's part that both of his girls went into library science like his wife, like their mother?
Actually, no. He pretty much endorsed
and
supported our selection of library science as a career, and did everything he could to encourage us to pursue graduate studies in library science. And I think that I owe a lot to him for being so supportive and for giving me both the monetary and the emotional support to do that sort of thing, to continue my graduate studies and to receive the 2 master's degrees.
Yeah, with your second degree, have you contemplated possibly getting into teaching like your dad?
Yeah, I think that my sister and my father have always been the teachers in the family, and I have never felt called to pursue teaching as a career. I've never felt that I have the talent for teaching. I've always seen myself really as a public servant, as someone who can and loves to serve others. That's one of the reasons that I went into public librarianship rather than academic or school, because it gives you an opportunity to serve others, to serve people in the community, to feel that you're really giving them something. It's very gratifying to be able to satisfy their information need, to be able to give them information that will enable them to complete a homework assignment,
Right.
to fill out their taxes, or to even understand more about their family history, where they came from. It's a very rewarding profession, and it's one that is something where you learn new information every day. You never stop learning, and I think it's for people who are very curious about things around them, people who want to know what it is that is around them,
Right.
want to know a lot about different subjects from A to Z.
Yeah.
It's for someone who never wants to stop learning.
Now, this is on the public librarian side or on all librarians?
It's all librarians to
Right.
an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the opportunity to be a public servant and to serve others is greatest in the public library.
That must be a great feeling. You know, oftentimes you wonder what how folks get into elected office or what they're thinking about. Obviously, ideally, they're thinking about serving the public, but then they may remain in it for different reasons. But I suspect librarians, from the get-go and throughout their entire professional lives, remain with that focus on serving others, particularly public
Yes.
librarians.
Yes, and I think that that's the thing that drives you. The knowledge that you're serving others is something that, you know, on your worst days you want to remember, so you can maybe, you know, continue on. And, you know, if you remember that you are there to serve others and that you are there to serve your community, it gives
Right.
you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit more encouragement, and encouragement to keep going.
It's
really.
fascinating to hear you talk about that, Elizabeth. And not to keep going back to what I watch on television, but last Wednesday night on a Seinfeld episode, it was the book cop coming to Jerry's house to say, you know, you've got this book that you hadn't returned back in 1971.
Right.
We're gonna track you down and we're gonna find it. And of course, in that aspect where you really want to make sure and help folks finish their homework assignment or help folks find a little bit of the history. In that instance, it was the Tropic of Cancer, and they wanted to get it back in the library. Of course, you can go out and buy one and fill it back up, but it's also that incentive to make sure that folks respect and respond to the needs of the library to serve a very large populace.
Exactly. And also the need to remember that the library books are actually property, that they're
Right.
the property of the county, and they need to be returned, and they also need to be returned simply because others might enjoy reading them also.
You know, George was with us yesterday, and in sharing with us some time, he focused on the fact that 12,000 of your 87,000, I believe 87,000 square foot facility here is dedicated to children. Is a
Absolutely.
children's library, and I believe he said it's the second largest children's library in the state.
It
And of course, with
absolutely is.
your background of growing up in your mother's experience in a children's library, has that been thrilling for you?
Yes, I think it has, definitely. The children's area is the most beautiful I've ever seen. I think we have a very capable children's staff. Our two professional librarians, Paula Childers and Priscilla Adams, are very capable individuals. They do, in my opinion, wonderful programs, and our Extension's children librarian, Debbie Casada, actually reaches thousands of children per year in the Florence County area, because she goes out to all of our different branches and puts on children's programs. And because of her, I think we reach thousands of children each year, and we're making a huge difference in their lives. We're bringing them educational enrichment. We're giving them cultural enhancement. We're really helping them expand their knowledge in a number of areas. So yeah, I'm thrilled about our children's area. I think our children's department is very dynamic. There's a lot of opportunity for growth in children's, and a lot of the programs that we have are very well attended. We have a number of daycares that come in, a number of after-school programs, preschool programs, toddler programs, a tween story time for grades 3 through 5. And we also have a teen program, a teen advisory club that my cohort, Julie Vault, our Reader Advisor Librarian 1, does, and she also does more, for example, movie nights with teenagers, and tries to promote the library with teenagers, which is a difficult group, but she does a very good job of, I think, trying to get them into the library and interested in reading and cultural enhancement and what we have here at the library.
Reader, advisor, librarian, of course, you're two. You just
Yeah.
mentioned your cohort or your
Colleague.
thank you, one. Are so there are multiple levels within every aspect of the library. Is that the same thing in the master's programs? They're foci on multiple levels?
Well, not exactly in the master's program, but getting back to what you said about the 1 and 2, I'd like to point out that we here at the library try to be very diplomatic about that. I feel that I am pretty much on equal footing with her. I may be a 2 and she may be a 1, but in the real world that doesn't matter.
Right.
She and I are both professional librarians, and we regard each other as equals. I feel that she has just as much to bring to the table as I do.
Right.
She has wonderful skills, I think, in making signs and flyers, and also just a very good rapport with teenagers that I don't think I have. And we've worked really well together. She does the teenage programming, I do the adult programming, and I feel that my talents lie more with the adult services, and hers really do lie in young adult programming. She's done a wonderful job with the young adults, and I really thank her for that. And I feel very blessed to have her doing the young adults and me doing the adults. It's worked out very well. But yes, with the 1 and 2, we try to minimize that. It's true that the 2 essentially just has a little more experience than the 1. And that's all it really is.
I think you mentioned, Elizabeth, you've only been in town about 5 months now. Had you had some more practical experience working in libraries prior? I mean, after your master's program, either your first or your second?
Right. During my initial master's program, the program in Library and Information Science at the University of Alabama, I did a graduate assistantship in the University of Alabama Education Library. I also worked in a professional capacity after I received my Master's of Library and Information Science degree. I worked in the Aiken County Public Library in Aiken, South Carolina as a reference librarian 1, and that job was primarily answering written and oral reference queries, doing some adult programming, some bibliographic instruction, and also maintaining their South Carolina room collection, as well as ordering a wide variety of books, fiction, nonfiction, and biography.
That's fascinating. Of course, so you came from Aiken straight to Florence.
No, actually I took a little detour. I went back to school to receive the second master's in history, went back to Alabama, to my hometown, and finished that degree at my dad's old school in his old department.
Is that right? Did you ever take any classes with your papa?
No,
is he still teaching?
he had retired.
Oh,
he had retired I believe 2 years before I came on board, but I did know some of his friends, and I had a very enjoyable time in that department, and just living back at home and being able to be with my parents.
Sure. Now, were there other brothers and sisters, just you and your twin?
Just my sister and I. She's only a minute older than I am, so really as close as 2 people could be in age. It's been an incredible experience to have an identical twin, but we were really the only 2, brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Let's talk, we talked a little bit about before we started this morning about the evening lecture series, adult program, and the library book club. And I think one thing that you spent a lot of time on, at least you expressed you did, Elizabeth, was the different desk scheduling. Share with the viewers exactly how, a little bit about desk scheduling.
Well, I think that desk scheduling is very interesting and very rewarding. I think it takes someone who is very organized, someone who has a lot of logic skills, and someone who is very capable in paying attention to details, very detail-oriented. And I think I am all 3 of those.
Oh, yeah.
And so I really do like doing the desk schedule. I do 6 different desks, a schedule for 6 different desks. The reader advisory desk, the circulation desk, which actually that schedule is done by our circulation manager, Lynn Hanna, and then given to Aubrey Carroll, who is the reference manager, and then kind of pass along to me. And we also have the children's desk schedule and the reference desk schedule, the South Carolina room desk schedule, and the computer services desk schedule. So it's quite a bit to do and to juggle, and it's like putting together a puzzle. I believe Aubrey Carroll, my reference manager, referred to it, used that analogy, referred to it in that way, and I think that's a good way of putting it. It is putting together a puzzle, but it's very gratifying when you finish that puzzle and you have a product, and this end product to give to all of our staff members, professional as well as paraprofessional.
How often do you have to do this puzzle?
Oh, actually, you have to do it every week. So it's fairly time-consuming. It's really something that the first time you do takes hours and hours of very tedious work. And then once you produce it several times, you get more familiar with the ins and outs of it, and you become more comfortable with doing it. It takes considerably less time. I've been doing it now for almost a month, so it's getting a little more familiar to me. I'm starting to realize how to put that with that and how to construct it in my own way that's easy for me. So.
Sure, someone was happy to turn that over to you.
yeah, I think he was pretty happy. But that was Aubrey Carroll, the reference manager, who had been doing it before I did, but he did have a lot of other responsibilities, like he was working on a lot of collection development and some other managerial tasks. I don't think he had a lot of time to deal with this schedule, so I was very happy to take it from him. And I have just really enjoyed it. It's been a real treat to do the schedule.
Adult programming, huge focus of the library. Obviously, we focused on children a few minutes ago and the 12,000 square foot that's allocated to children here in the building. And I guess the whole building is allocated to everyone. But, of course, there's a lot of adult programming. Share with the viewers about some of the adult programming currently in play.
Well, we pretty much have two different programs offered. We have a adult book club that meets every we essentially meet at 10 o'clock on the third Thursday of the month. And then we have an evening lecture series that meets once a month on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. And with the library book club, we are now focusing on Southern women writers. We've had the theme of Southern women writers for both winter and spring 2004-2005. The next book that we'll be reading to be discussed on the 17th of February. Today, actually, we will be discussing Fanny Flagg's Welcome to the World, Baby Girl. And the next book for March will be Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. Then we will be discussing Ellen Foster by Kay Gibbons, an Alabama author, in fact. In May, we'll be discussing Fair and Tender Ladies by Lee Smith. And I'm hoping to expand that theme of Southern women writers into the summer. And this summer, we'll probably be reading one of Lee Smith's other works, The Last Girls, and then Fanny Flagg's The Redbird Christmas, and also probably in August, Connie Mae Fowler's Before Women Had Wings. And regarding the evening lecture series, I usually invite people that can share cultural experiences with our patrons, or those who have specialized topics to share with the patrons. They know specialized knowledge, like we had someone a couple of weeks ago come talk about a quality management system called ISO 9001-2000. He was actually an Indian engineer who had spoken before to MBA students at Francis Marion University, and he had quite a bit of specialized knowledge on that topic. We also had a chiropractor, Dr. Brian Porzo, speak on coping with and preventing back pain, sharing his specialized knowledge with the community. And we've had two individuals come talk about their experiences abroad. One, unfortunately, was Thomas Grossman, who had spent some time in a Nazi concentration camp.
I remember, sure.
Yes, and that was an absolutely riveting, fascinating talk. I think one of the most touching talks I've ever heard in my life. He was absolutely fabulous.
He was with us about a year ago for an hour at our Florence studio out in Timmonsville. He's incredible.
He is an absolutely fascinating person, someone of great inner strength. And the other person that we had, speaking of cultural experiences, was Major Mike Krell, who is on the Florence City Police Force, and he went to Afghanistan for, I think, just shy of a year, and he talked about his experiences in Afghanistan, had a slideshow and a lecture to present, and his talk was very well received. I thought he did a great job sharing what he had seen and learned in Afghanistan with our patrons.
You are great with these names, Elizabeth, and obviously getting into the community as well as you have in just the last 5 months. I guess this role in a public library really gives you the opportunity to interface with a lot of people you wouldn't normally. And of course, with this being the headquarters for the Florence County Library system here, I mean, you look behind us, this incredible facility is just amazing.
It absolutely is a remarkable facility. It's magnificent. It's something that looks like it's straight out of Washington, D.C.
It
or
does.
New York
That's
City.
Right. Yes.
It's just uplifting to work in such a beautiful place.
That's correct, and I guess all viewers can't see that. The only thing that you wouldn't see in Washington is the Palmetto flag flying, but you surely
yes.
see the American flag there. It's beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
We need to get folks to come visit often. Now, in y'all's normal hours, of course, we're here early in the morning at 7. What are the normal
Yes.
hours of the library?
Normally we open at 9 o'clock and close at 8:30. That's Monday through Thursday, though.
Okay.
On Friday, we're open from 9 until 5:30, and on Saturday, we are also open from 9 until 5:30. On Sunday, we open at 2 and close at 5.
Just 3 hours on Sunday, the day of rest. That's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes. It is, but we do have a number of school kids and others in the community who take advantage of those 3 hours on Sunday. So it can be a very busy time for us.
If you weren't currently the reader, advisor, librarian, too, here at the Drs. Bruce and Lee Foundation Library, Elizabeth, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think I would be involved in some sort of public service work. I've always had a very strong commitment to public service. My undergraduate major was in political science. I've done political campaigning. I've done work in both campaigning for politicians and also campaigning for different causes. And so I'm a very cause-oriented person. I love working with people for different causes, for different things. So I think I will be involved in public service in some way.
That's great. Those are great words. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Elizabeth Caldwell coming up next. 843-662-8424. That's the number we should have been pumping up earlier. You heard Elizabeth share some of the schedules of the library, some of the amazing adult programming, as well as some of the kids programming going on. Think about that growing up in Alabama as a twin, and your mom's a librarian, your dad's a history professor, and then you and your twin break up for a little while. Your sister goes into library science as well. Both y'all get into that. It's that recognition of serving the public. You heard her get really excited talking about that ability to serve the public. And that's truly what librarians do, whether they do it in a public library setting or even a different college setting or a private library setting. There's an opportunity to continue to serve and really make a difference in people's lives. Elizabeth Caldwell, thanks for doing what you do.